The National Archives has released 50,000 documents on the assassination of President John F. Kennedy since 2017 alone. We've been looking through them and found something no one has noticed yet. The memo is a response from the CIA to the FBI, indicating the Bureau asked the agency about the legitimacy of an earth-shattering report. That document in question is this, an apparent wiretap dated one day before Marilyn Monroe's death, officially ruled a suicide by overdose. The wiretap warns Monroe had secrets to tell and that she threatened to reveal them in a press conference. One involved JFK's visit to a, quote, secret airbase for the purpose of inspecting things from outer space. These are linked to reports of crashed spacecraft and dead bodies. Another secret, the president's plan to kill Fidel Castro. But we have to ask, is this actually legit, or is it an elaborate fake? We'll shed never-before-seen light on this now. We're a channel covering declassified files. Subscribe to join us. At first glance, this appears to be a CIA information report. We can see it was once classified top secret, but it was downgraded to not for publication. The brackets indicate previous redactions that are no longer blacked out. The alleged subject, Marilyn Monroe, dated August 3, 1962. Referenced in the report is Project Moondust. This was a covert space debris retrieval group run by the U.S. Air Force that once found a metallic disk in Nepal, among other things. So what does Moondust and potential UFO debris have to do with a pop culture icon? Well, if we believe the report, which details a wiretapped conversation between journalist Dorothy Kilgallen and Agent Howard Rothberg, Monroe learned of JFK's visit to a, quote, secret airbase for the purpose of inspecting things from outer space. Now, it's known she knew the president and his brother Robert, the attorney general at the time. Monroe's official FBI file shows she spent time with both brothers at various points in 1962, though the nature of their relationship remains up for debate. What about Kilgallen, the journalist? The report notes she'd have interest in Project Moondust. Many years earlier, it writes, Kilgallen learned of a secret effort by US and UK governments to identify the origins of crashed spacecraft and dead bodies from a British government official. Kilgallen really did publish the story. In 1955, she wrote, British scientists and airmen, after examining the wreckage of one mysterious flying ship, are convinced these strange aerial objects are not optical illusions or Soviet inventions, but are flying saucers which originate on another planet. Her source was a British cabinet official. Getting back to the wiretap report in question, it states, Kilgallen said that if this story is true, it would cause terrible embarrassment for Jack and his plans to have NASA put men on the moon. The remaining pieces of information are just as interesting. These are reportedly gleaned from a separate wiretap of Monroe and RFK. It claims she called him and complained that she was being ignored by him and his brother. She also threatened to hold a press conference to tell all. And she knew of the president's plan to kill Fidel Castro, the Prime Minister of Cuba. It's notable that at this time, Operation Mongoose, a covert CIA plan against Castro's government, was ongoing. Its goal? A revolt in Cuba by the fall of that year, though it was ultimately shut down by the end of 1962. So, is this report legitimate or not? In the eyes of the CIA, the answer is no. This is the new information we found buried in the National Archives. A memo from a senior reviewer at the CIA sent to the unit chief of the JFK task force at the FBI. It is dated April 10, 1995. It suggests the FBI obtained the Monroe report and, understandably, asked the CIA if it actually created it. The memo states agency officers reviewed the document and considered it to be fraudulent. Quote, while the format resembles a reports form used in the 1960s, the CIA writes, the substantive information and presentation is foreign to normal presentation or collection efforts. Basically, he's saying there's too much juicy information for it to be legitimate. He's suggesting that isn't the way the agency usually reported intelligence collection. After reviewing tens of thousands of CIA documents, we're mixed on this statement. On one hand, intelligence gathering is often reported in a very compartmentalized fashion, but we have come across reports with a surprising level of detail. Perhaps what the reviewer is really getting at is the CIA didn't have a habit of wiretapping US citizens. But We do know Operation MH-Chaos was a real CIA program. It was a domestic espionage program targeting American citizens from 1967 to 1974, with the aim of uncovering foreign influence on anti-war and other protest movements inside the U.S. When it ended, it had files on 7,000-plus Americans. What else? Well, the reviewer writes that classification stamps are not typical of CIA reports written in the 1960s. Here is another information report direct from the source. Note the format is nearly identical to the alleged Monroe report. However, to the analyst's point, the classification is usually typed out, not stamped like on the Monroe report. But the CIA still used top-secret stamps sometimes in that era. Take this report from 1958 or this from 1962 that uses both a stamp and a typed classification designation. One thing of note, the Monroe report stamp has a unique font width. All top-secret stamps of the era from other CIA files have this font instead. Still can't decide? Well, there's something else, and no one else has noticed it until now. The wiretap report forwarded to the CIA in 1995 for evaluation appears to be a different or altered copy than the one shared with the media the same year. Investigative journalist Milo Spiriglio shared the report in a press conference in 1995. That is the version that has been analyzed over and over again by other journalists. But it's slightly different than the one the FBI sent to the CIA. For one, the FBI's version had the top-secret stamp crossed out, implying its classification was downgraded at some point. The press version had no cross-out. Something else, the FBI's version had the words "Tell All" underlined. The press version did not. There's one other thing. The press version appears to have the routing information MJ12 on it. The FBI's version is cropped above this point. What's MJ12? Well, it may be a reference to Majestic 12, a very controversial, disputed organization among UFO theorists. Some claim the organization is the code name of a secret committee of scientists and military leaders tasked with controlling information surrounding the UFO phenomenon. Others claim it is an elaborate hoax. Some think it may even be a disinformation campaign or a strange combination of half-truths, where once real MJ12 documents leaked in the 1980s, forgeries were created to discredit the information. We'll discuss this in future videos. But the presence of MJ12 in the Monroe report will mean different things to different people. On one hand, it strengthens the argument that the committee controlled UFO information if you believe the report is legitimate. If you believe the Monroe report is fake, however, as the CIA suggested in 1995, then there are a couple different reads of the MJ12 mention. It could have been included as a way to legitimize a hoax. Or, if you want to get really out there, the entire report could have been created as a piece of disinformation in an attempt to discredit real MJ12 information with a document discussing JFK, Marilyn Monroe, and things from outer space. What's important, though, is that our discovery in the National Archives suggests the FBI did take this seriously. And the CIA did too, enough to assign multiple officers to analyze it. It's also extremely noteworthy that there appear to be multiple versions of the document. This has never been noted until now. This can be read one of two ways. Either the hoax was elaborate enough to create multiple versions, or this document is in fact real and different versions were shared outside the CIA. If you buy the document as being real, it's notable the report's classification was downgraded. This suggests it did reach a larger group of people once it was rated not for publication. At this point, someone may have taken issue with it and decided to share it. But again, this is speculation. And the CIA's official take on it is that it's fake because of the stamp and the breadth of details. But Operation Mongoose was real, Project Moondust was real, and Kilgallen really did publish a story on UFOs being extraterrestrial in the past. What do you think? Is this report too ridiculous to possibly be the truth? Or is that just the thing that makes it so compelling? And do you buy the CIA's response to the FBI on why it is a fake? Let us know in the comments below. Special thanks to our Patreon supporters, including RMG. Without you guys, this wouldn't be possible. Consider joining them on Patreon for less than the cost of a cup of coffee each month. It really helps us produce this content on a regular basis. Also, hit the notification bell if you haven't. See you next time.